Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. And, with all the terrible things that have been happening in 2020 has definitely been the worst year, I can recall. When we're only halfway through it. I figured I would bring my good friend from Larry's Comics, Larry, back on the channel and just kind of, talk about everything that's been happening, with respect to comic shops and the comic book industry. We might veer off out of it, side of that bubble a little bit, but we will try to keep it on Comic Talk as much as we can. How you holding up, Larry?
I'm holding up great. Thanks for having me on the show, Wes. Great news. It's tropical storm season. So we got that going for us this year.
Well, we definitely got that coming here in the Philippines. Yeah.
Yesterday was a stressful day, man. Just been a stressful weekend. This is just
been a stressful year.
Imagine that you're a comic book retailer. You've been shut down for 3 months now because of the pandemic, and you open for a couple weeks, and then you're at home getting some rest before New Comic Day, and your store gets looted. That's exciting. I mean,
yeah, we've seen that
tough
across
times.
America. In Minneapolis, I think we saw Uncle Hugo's was burned to the ground. In California, we've seen like Heidi Ho and Golden Apple Comics.
I know the guys at Graham Crackers. They get broken into. Yesterday was DC New Comic Day, so I was making my deliveries and meeting up with customers. One of my customers, he's a manager of a sunglass store. There's 700 stores in his chain, and he told me that 46 out of the 700 stores he had just come from a meeting had been looted. So, I mean, this is something that, it's not just comic book shops. It's small, hard good retailers, they just getting busted into. I mean, in New England, we're savages. People broke into a Dunkin' Donuts. I mean,
they got the best
have
coffee,
some
man.
Respect, guys. It's a Dunkin' Donuts.
So, yeah, how, just thinking about it, how do you keep a good frame of mind, keep positive with everything that's going on? It feels like it's been setback after setback after setback. I know in Massachusetts, you can't even really open your shop yet because you're not in phase 2.
Yeah, Massachusetts is only allowed to do curbside delivery right now. And Saturday, we get the governor is going to be announcing his additional phase 2 plan. So hopefully you'll be able to open through walk-in traffic. Tough time to be a retailer, but small businesses are scrappy. If they're going to survive, they all find a way. This is the time it's nose to the grindstone time. I mean, just power through it.
Just talking to your retailer friends, I don't know if you know this, and I've been talking to Perch, like his storefront that he just signed paperwork that he was going to put his comic book shop, his new comic shop, and it was I think they defaced the windows and the property and stuff like that. Have you heard any of your friends? Are they all doing okay? Have their shops been broken into?
Somebody at the drop point yesterday said that they thought that Newbury Comics in Boston sustained some minor damage, but it's the only one in New England that I've heard of. And my store had been in Lowell, Massachusetts, which is pretty diverse city, and they've had nothing but peaceful candlelight vigils. There hasn't been any looting.
Well, you guys are very blessed then. That's amazing. I'm very happy for you.
Lowell can be the mean streets of Lowell too. So,
well, I've seen the
just
fighter.
Everybody really proud of how everybody.
Mickey Wood.
Mickey Ward.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of my family. It was pretty funny watching that movie. But
the back of my store in the limo scene, when they're driving in the limo, you see a giant maroon wall. That's the back of my store. That's it. My brother was a trainer in the movie, but the back wall got into the movie, so it's my claim to fame. It's exciting. Yeah.
So it's been crazy. So are you still having customers? Are people scared to come in? Even to pick up their new comics for this week? How's it been?
I don't have a retail store right now. I sold my building last year, and I was going to buy another building, and it fell through. And now all this stuff the pandemic has happened, and now
you're operating out of like your basement.
No, I rent. I've been running a show in the Chelmsford Radisson in their ballroom. So on Wednesdays and Saturdays, I rent the ballroom and I set a comic book shop up there. But the hotel has been closed. They haven't been renting rooms through the pandemic. So I've just been delivering, either hand delivering or delivering through the mail.
Man, so you've been hustling.
I've been hustling.
That's crazy. So the three of the four retailers on the channel,
core of my subscription, which is great. And I'm kind of waiting to see which way the wind blows. I looked at a property, and it doesn't seem like this has affected rent prices or real estate prices in New England at all. Right at this stage of the game, everything's still really high, and we'll see where it goes.
That's crazy. So three of the four retailers that are on the channel regularly, obviously Pele is in his shop. He's actually he was looking at buying another shop, I believe, but he hasn't done that yet. But Perch was just signed paperwork. He was looking to move into his new shop. Yule had closed his shop down, was moving into his new shop when the pandemic happened. Obviously, you're in the same situation, so it's crazy.
Well,
all of you are moving at the same time.
I have all my inventory, all my customers, and all my fixtures. I'm looking to buy a building. In this pandemic, two retailers have offered me their stores, their businesses, which are in rented locations. I don't want to do it. I don't want to make a landlord rich.
That happens, yeah. So
I want to run a lousy business in my own building and then sell the building.
Nice. So you want to be your own boss?
I do. Yeah, I've owned my own building for 28 years now, so I think that's the way to go in this business.
So is there anything else that's been going on? I know I'm feeling pretty down. It's kind of hard to, I'm not even in the US. I'm in the Philippines, obviously, but I've been keeping track on everything. When you're on social media, it's just like, I don't know if I want to call it a dumpster fire, but it is an oasis of depression. Just all the things that I've seen.
Social media is depressing right now. What's going on is depressing, and I don't have the answers for it. But I think if we all took the advice of Benjamin Franklin Parker, and with great power comes great responsibility, and we all just did our jobs, ultimately, I entertain people and I provide them escapism. I'm going to focus on doing my job. And if you want to break from the shit that's happening in the world, come on in and grab some comic books, and maybe I can calm you down and we can have a good time. I can't change the world, but I can do my job.
So, what do you think is going to happen? We predicted that, COVID-19, the pandemic, was going to have, negative ramification on the industry as far as contraction. We were going to lose some stores. Obviously, if you look on comic book YouTube, we've been hearing about Armageddon for, a year or two now. Everybody's going out of business. And obviously, with this, it'll be more doom and gloom.
I've seen, even with this shit week, I've seen enthusiasm and excitement from my customers with the orders. I mean, everybody's kept up with their subscriptions. They're all excited about their comic books are back. They're glad to have them.
So you would say the naysayers on YouTube might have gotten the story wrong, and that
the YouTube is saying that comic book shops are going out of business, and the mainstream comic industry is imploding because they don't want you to walk into a comic shop and see that there are comic books now for starting at $4 that you don't have to prepay $25 for. I mean, it's just their line of rhetoric to make themselves feel better. For some reason, YouTube believes that in order for their indie Kickstarter go-go to be successful, we have to fail. And it's not the case. In my opinion, Indiegogo people are maybe creating new comic book customers. You know what I mean? That someday might find their way into a comic book shop. Maybe my comic book customers are gonna like Creator X and find their Indiegogo. I mean, I don't see why there's a group of YouTubers that, they create the same content video, and it's got the same negative message with shit information that the comic shops are going out of business and the mainstream comic book industry is failing. it's bullshit.
It's crazy, and I know you support some of those creators. Do you go and support those campaigns as well, or
To a point? Some of the guys I've stopped supporting their books just based on their mouths. I've learned with the advent of social media, I've really trained myself to separate the art from the artist, because when you meet some of these guys on social media, I mean, it doesn't make you want to read their books. I mean, take it this week, Rick Remender. I've bought and enjoyed every single Rick Remender book since Sea of Red. I mean, I've stocked libraries of all his works in the store. I've hand sold his stuff and created hundreds and hundreds of fans, turning people onto Rick Remender work. And then this week he tells half my customers not to buy his book if they voted for Donald Trump. I mean, what a crazy business.
Yeah, it's so strange. And I get where he was coming from. He was obviously frustrated. I know that, he has posted stuff about Trump before. He does not like Trump, and I get that.
Who
and I
does?
guess, some comic customers were coming at him and saying, hey, listen, it'd be terrible if you lost your job. We're not going to, and he got fed up with it. But, 10 or 15 or even 20 dickheads bothering you on social media, it does not equal like the half of the entire buying population.
Well, Rick just did a deal with, I don't know, Sci-Fi Channel for.
Well, he had Deadly Class on Sci-Fi Channel, but he just did a new production.
So he
deal
obviously made some
stuff.
money. But when he just told everybody, half his customers, to fuck off, what about the colorists who work with you, Rick? What about the letterers who work with you? How about the editors, the assistant editors, the distributors, the retailers? You just fucked over all those people. That's great, Rick. Nobody gives a shit about your political opinions. People like you because you write good comic books. Shut the fuck up.
He's like the best science fiction comic writer in the industry.
I've loved every single thing that guy's ever written. Loved all of his Marvel work. His Uncanny X-Force run is incredible. I loved Agent Venom. I loved Fear Agent.
Mm-hmm.
I've loved East of West. I've stocked all of those graphic novels.
East of West is a Hickman.
And sold those things for decades. And if I voted for Trump, you don't want me buying your books. Go hang around with Kelly Sue DeConnick. You fucking dink. Just a dink thing to say. This week, just making it more frustrating. You get this bullshit.
Yeah,
it spans multiple publishers too.
They're making it very difficult to separate the art from the artist with a lot of the rhetoric that they're going on. And I understand everyone is fired up. Everyone is dialed up to 150 right now.
I didn't want to find out that Rick Remender was a dink. I loved Rick Remender. Imagine if there was Twitter when Jack Lee and Jack Kirby,
John Byrne,
and Stan Lee
was in his prime.
John Byrne would have been fucking crazy. You would have hated him instantly. John Byrne just showed up. He didn't do shows for a number of years. And a couple of years ago, he showed up at Boston Comic Con. And everybody was like, oh, John Byrne's here. I'm going to go ask him for an autograph. And people coming back to the booth after meeting him, just talking about he was giving only 10 autographs for free. And he was delightful to everybody. I think the media kind of blew up his craziness. I mean, he didn't meet one person that day in Boston who didn't think that John Byrne was anything other than a big lovable teddy bear.
That's hilarious, because I've talked to people that have met him, and they're like, yeah, he's kind of a dick. And I was like, I like dickheads that are like really talented.
I like comic books more than I like comic book creators. Honestly, I don't even want to meet any more of these fucking people, because you're afraid of what's going to pop out of the box.
Absolutely.
I mean, I didn't want to
unfollowed all of them
Dan
today.
Slott was batshit crazy.
Yeah, I unfollowed all of them today. I was like, I've had enough. I was like, I'm
gonna stick to reading comic books and not following comic book creators. I never want to fucking meet another one in my life.
Yes, I don't.
But I like their art. Rick, you keep writing good comics, because I'm gonna probably read them. I'm not gonna fucking sell that many more of them for you, but I'm gonna read them all because I like all your work, friend.
Yeah, it's been so weird. just to see all the
If you don't like my
discourse out
politics,
there.
don't buy my book.
Yeah, it's like
Just
over a handful of
publishers.
people.
What? Where did this whole movement of "don't buy my shit" come from? I mean, can you imagine a paint manufacturer, just being this twisted, and half the people in the paint factory, you know what I mean, telling all the paint users not to buy the paint if you didn't vote their way. It's just nuts.
Yeah, it's strange because being who I am, I don't like ultimatums and things like that. So if you tell me to if I like anything to not buy your stuff, I just won't. Like, it makes me not want to buy it right there. Like, why would I support you? You're obviously a kind of a dickhead to people. Like, you're taking people for granted that are supporting you and giving you an opportunity to feed your family here.
You know what? The only way I want to find out about comic book creators now is like the old school way, and like read an Amazing Heroes interview where
Bleeding
their
Cool?
personality just can't come off. Yeah, Bleeding Cool. The bastion of truth, justice, in the American way.
Yeah, it's been an eye opener. So I'd gotten over I was like, whatever. I'm cool with creators. They can say whatever they want as long as they're not complete ass bags to customers. But they've gone back to kind of being ass bags again. And
I want comic book artists that make great art, and I want comic book writers that write great stories. And if I want to know anything more, I think I'm going to find out about them through, a published interview. Can't follow these people on social media.
No, the problem is everyone always
cards.
ends up forwarding it out. Like,
Rick Remender told me not to buy his work after 10 fucking years of buying his work this week. That's great. That's a cherry on the sundae this week. Thanks, Rick.
It definitely makes you feel appreciated.
Oh, fucking asshole. What a fucking asshole.
Yeah, I saw. I don't know. I don't want to get into that one. That might upset some people.
Rick, I wish when you were publishing Sea of Red that you called every shop and told us not to buy your work back then before we fucking catapulted you to Hollywood, you dick.
Well, yeah, it's been awful. So is there anything else that you needed to get out there before we wrap this up? It's been a terrible week. Obviously we're in the dumps.
It's a terrible week. I can't change the world, but comics can entertain you. I'm going to do my job. With great power comes great responsibility. It's my responsibility to sell comic books. The world's getting you down. Take a few hours off and escape. Read a good book.
Yeah, so my mantra has been, keep keep the faith. Obviously I do believe in God, so my mind is there, and I do know that in the end He will deliver me everything that I do need. If you don't believe in God or you believe in a different God, definitely keep your faith in your God, in your religion, in your family. If you're an atheist, keep your faith in your family, your friends. Keep your spiritual health up. It's very easy to get down right now. You don't want to get caught up in all the negativity. If you're too addicted to the social media and the negativity there, probably best to just leave it alone. And I don't know. It kind of feels weird, but I feel like I'm searching for a miracle here, Larry. I'm just something great.
I think it was Jesus Christ who said, "He who hath not turned on social media should go pick up a great graphic novel."
Absolutely. Pass on the Twitter
Jesus.
and go get you a nice Batman or a Avengers graphic novel and lose yourself in that for a few hours and get yourself out of this negativity, because it's all bullshit, man.
Don't fucking read Fear Agent.
Don't read Fear Agent. You might get sucked in, and then Rick Remender will want you to not to read his books anymore.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, Larry. I think we've had enough. Really appreciate the conversation, brother.
See you, buddy. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thanks, Wes.
Yeah, that was fun.